This review episode was actually really exciting for me to write. You see, unlike my last review where I was openly not a fan of pet gameplay, or at least how it was presented in The Sims 2 Pets, today I get to talk about an expansion pack that completely reshaped my Sims 2 experience, and that is, of course, The Sims 2 Seasons. And spoiler alert, this pack, in my opinion, is about as close to perfection as you can get. Now, for those of you just discovering this space, my name is Michael, and I want to let you know that you have landed in Sovereign Sandboxing, a channel where we build, play, and reflect on games that let us shape our own stories. Now let's get back to the video. Now, like I did with my previous reviews, which has been a minute or so since I've done one of those, I'll be scoring this expansion pack out of 10 in 5 key categories based on my opinion and playing experience. Those categories being, of course, its concept, innovation, gameplay, the impact on the current franchise, and the impact on future Sims franchises. And of course, I'll be placing it on my tier list at the very end. So let's jump into The Sims 2 Seasons, an expansion pack that was so heavily requested that when it was finally dropped, it actually delivered. No filter, no filler, fluff, or any of that, just pure game-changing gameplay, in my opinion. So let's dive into its concept here. I'm gonna keep this section short and sweet. The concept of The Sims 2 Seasons is honestly brilliant in its simplicity. You just simply give players a full 4-season weather life cycle, tie it to a gameplay loop, and then deepen the immersion of their worlds, and that's really it. And yet it fundamentally alters how every lot feels and plays, which is really the most important and impactful thing here. See, this wasn't just a coat of paint over the existing game. This was a full-on transformation of how your neighborhoods felt over time. Suddenly, that sleepy little cottage felt cozy in the winter, your parks were alive in the springs, and your Sims had to plan their lives around the weather just like we do ourselves, so it was very much mirroring real life, which is what the Sims franchises are really all about. And not only does this concept have universal appeal, it seamlessly integrates with every other expansion pack, and it makes every household better. It just really rounds out the gameplay experience of the Sims franchise, and it's that kind of connective tissue that I feel that Pets was lacking from the last review that I was doing, and that Seasons absolutely nailed for me. Like I said here, I am keeping this section short and sweet, and as you'll probably notice in the video length here, this whole review for this part of the series is very short and sweet, and that's honestly because I feel that the expansion pack, The Sims 2 Seasons itself, really doesn't have to do much explaining other than just being a brilliant expansion pack from concept to execution. With that said, the concept really gets an easy 10 out of 10 for me. EA didn't have to overcomplicate the overarching concept itself. It was a concept that the Sims 2 players were really crying for, and ultimately EA delivered on their promises. And they also gave us a new neighborhood to boot, which I felt was going above and beyond, which I feel the entire expansion pack really does. So I don't throw the word innovative around lightly, but let's be real. The Sims 2 Seasons redefined what an expansion pack could do. The inclusion of weather wasn't just aesthetic, it added a new layer of depth to nearly every gameplay feature that The Sims 2 had up until this point. For example, if you were visiting a sub-neighborhood like downtown, suddenly you have to take into account like what season you left it playing and it makes the experience completely different because now you're going out to a restaurant or a nightclub in the middle of winter or fall or summer, and that changes your gameplay experience because suddenly you're not choosing to sit outdoors or to go out for a night on the town, completely outdoors if it is winter, for example. So it really kind of adds these kind of considerations, and I would almost say like problem spaces for players to consider when actually playing their games, which I feel is kind of a good problem to have because you do want the expansion packs to be, you want them to impact your gameplay experience, and really The Sims 2 Seasons impacts your gameplay experience for nearly every experience that you want to play through with every expansion pack. The inclusion of weather really just wasn't aesthetic,
it added a new layer of depth to nearly every gameplay feature that The Sims 2 had up until this point. Now, we're talking about like actual weather effects that impacts moods, routines, and events. For example, the fall season really encouraged your Sims to increase their skills because they have some sort of a small bonus associated with it. I believe in the Sims 2 seasons, the winter season actually helped to encourage and foster closer familial relations by giving you little relationship boosts to Sims that you would interact with that are labeled as your family. So you have those little things that just take the weather effects and makes it deeper and tries to encourage players a deeper gameplay experience. We also got temperature-based clothing, meaningful gardening systems, fishing. We also got new careers and even the plant sim life state, which is one of the more interesting occult type the series has ever introduced. It wasn't about just giving us snow and rain. It was about making the passage of time matter. Seasons asked, what if time was a mechanic, and then built an entire ecosystem around it, which I feel was really brilliant. In The Sims 1, the only real change in seasons we had was when you had the Sims Vacation expansion pack installed, where it allowed players to visit the snowy lots on the Vacation Island neighborhood. And I guess that you could argue that The Sims 2 Make and Magic featured the autumn season with some of its lots like Coldwind Meadows. However, that depiction of fall was really only represented by greenery objects that felt like autumn more than anything else. It didn't add anything deeper to the gameplay. And same with the winter season there. Even though you could buy clothes in the winter season, like warmer clothes, it really didn't matter if you bought them or not because your Sims really wouldn't get cold on those snowy lots anyways. However, Sims 2 seasons really aimed to change that. Regardless, the Sims 2 seasons like reinvented the Sims 2 playing experience at every point in the franchise. And, you know, if you didn't guess it already, I'm giving it another 10 out of 10 in the innovation category. To be honest with you guys, there are so many layers to the gameplay category that I honestly don't know where to start, but I'm gonna try anyways. Let's start with gardening actually. Gardening in The Sims 2 seasons isn't just a side activity, it's an actual system that adds challenge and reward. You've got crop health, fertilization, insect control, you also have greenhouses. It's almost like its own mini career. It felt like EA took the lessons from Unleashed and refined them into something far more structured and satisfying. Then there's fishing, which really added another fun, skill-based layer. It's a low-stakes way to build badges, earn money, or just enjoy the game world. It's also one of those features that feels grounded, like something a sim would actually do to pass the time on a sunny day. And it's perfect for like the summer and autumn seasons for your Sims to do. Now, both fishing and gardening are badge-based systems, which was a system that was introduced to us in the Open for Business expansion pack. My opinion on the badge-based system, and I will continue to add upon this whenever I do my free time review, is that when it comes to The Sims 2 badges, I kind of feel like it was a bit of an experiment on one hand, and it just needed to actually be skills as opposed to badges, because with the badges you only get like a bronze badge, a silver badge, and a gold badge, and if I remember correctly you can't actually see your progress when you build up those badges, and it just felt like these badges were truly watered down skills. Now, I'm not actually going to dock points for the badge system in its entirety within the Sims 2 franchise because it still functions right. I just don't feel like it was deep enough at the end of the franchise, but I appreciate the experimentation because it did lead to more skills in the Sims 3 franchise. And that is something that I do agree with. It just because the skills systems in the Sims 3 franchise has a lot more depth to it, but that is another video entirely. I just wanted to mention here that even though I wasn't a huge fan of the Sims 2 badge system, I'm really glad that they continue to expand upon it within this franchise, and I'm not going to hold it against this franchise for making a system that I feel is still well done. But anyways, I'd also like to continue talking about the gameplay here. I'd really be remiss not to mention the weather effects themselves. These weren't just skybox changes, these were gameplay modifiers. Thunderstorms could knock out electronics, Sims could get sunburned or freeze to death in winter. Seasonal holidays and aspirations could be fulfilled or frustrated by what time of year it was. The environment wasn't just something you built, it was something you lived in. And based on my own playing experience, The Sims 2 Seasons barely had any game-breaking glitches for me, and I'm fairly certain that this was one of the expansion packs of the franchise where there were barely any game-breaking glitches experienced on a widespread level. Of course, if I'm just misremembering this, then feel free to sound off in the comment section below. It has been a minute or so since I've actually played The Sims 2 Seasons, or The Sims 2 anything really, and I don't even have the games installed on my computer, nor would I know how to even go about that because my computer doesn't have discs. We don't have disk drives anymore, and I don't know how you would even go about that. So yeah, it's been a minute or so since I've actually played The Sims 2 Seasons. I also want to take a moment here to talk about River Blossom Hills, which was the custom neighborhood introduced with The Sims 2 Seasons. It's easy to overlook, but I think it does deserve way more attention than it normally gets. You see, River Blossom Hills has this charming, rural, almost Harvest Moon kind of vibe to it, with big farm lots, garden-centric households, and families already involved in growing their own food. It kind of felt like a blend of Harvest Moon in a way and Old Town from The Sims 1, which I felt like was a really good approach to take with it. It feels like the perfect sandbox to test out all the new gardening mechanics and the weather features right out of the box. And when you start in River Blossom Hills, I believe you start in winter, if I remember that one correctly there. So you get to see how it really comes into its own from the dead of winter into spring and all that, which I felt was unique in terms of a gameplay experience. And then of course, there's the Plant Sim Life State. Honestly, it's one of the most creative additions into The Sims 2. You see, your sim can become a plant sim if they spray too many plants without protection, and once they transform, it's a full shift in gameplay. You get a completely different need system, so there's no bladder or hunger, and instead your plant sim thrives off of sunlight, water, and love for the outdoors really. It ties in beautifully with gardening, making your sim more connected to nature in a literal way. And because it's all triggered through gameplay rather than a simple create a sim toggle, it actually feels earned, like a transformation that evolves naturally from how you play, much like the werewolf life state from The Sims 2 Pets. That one also felt earned as well. It's the Plant Sims, though, is one of those rare occults that isn't just fantasy. It's mechanically integrated into the system introduced into this expansion pack, which was Seasons, and I think that was really genius. Since the gameplay features were both deep and well executed, it really calls for another 10 out of 10 score for the gameplay category. So let's talk about the impact on the rest of the Sims 2 franchise. If you took Seasons out of the Sims 2 franchise, I honestly believe that the game would feel incomplete. I mean, how do you go back to a static world after seeing snowfall on your Sims front lawn and just allowing the passage of time to actually grow and evolve? It's very hard to kind of go back to the base game after experiencing that. And I don't mean to harp too much on The Sims 2 Pets, but unlike Pets, which you can pretty much ignore if that's not your playstyle, Seasons affects every single household, every single save, and every single gameplay loop. It enhanced other expansion packs as well, like your business lots in Open for Business got weather, your family cookouts from Nightlife suddenly had to consider rain or even snow if you're playing in winter. It connected all of the dots and it gave them real depth. You see, Seasons made the franchise feel whole and unified them in ways that suggest that other sub-neighborhoods were more connected. And to be honest with you guys, this review has been very hard to write because I honestly think that The Sims 2 Seasons as an expansion pack really speaks for itself. This was actually an expansion pack that I felt didn't need to add in an additional neighborhood, which in this case was River Blossom Hills. In fact, if River Blossom Hills was added into The Sims 2 Pets, which wouldn't make any sense considering its own concept, that almost would have been beneficial for The Sims 2 Pets, or at least beneficial for my reviews. But yeah, I'm kind of getting a little sidetracked here. When it comes to The Sims 2 Seasons, the concept was strong, It reinvented the Sims 2 gaming experience, and the gameplay itself was really well done, and I feel that the impact on the current Sims 2 franchise really does speak for itself, and that's getting another 10 out of 10 in this category for me. There's a reason why Seasons has become a must-have expansion pack for every single Sims generation since. Well, okay, maybe not The Sims 4, but I'm not gonna go there today, and I doubt I'll ever go there on this channel because I've never played The Sims 4, nor do I want to, nor do I want that kind of cancer on my computer. But anyways, no offense to anybody who plays The Sims 4, I was just kind of kidding there. But anyways, Sims 2 Seasons did set the standards and expectations for what Sims players should expect and could expect from a Sims expansion pack that featured around Seasons. In The Sims 3 and Sims 4, players don't ask if a Seasons expansion pack is coming, they ask when it's coming. Because this one expansion pack taught us that life sim games feel shallow without Seasons. Seasons is a great way, like I mentioned earlier, to kind of mark the passage of time a little better beyond the life states of your Sims themselves. And a world without change really does feel hollow, and no matter how many features EA adds, players will always look forward to this particular gameplay experience. Whether it was the introduction of the weather systems, the dynamic environmental effects, or seasonally driven aspirations and holidays, The Sims 2 Seasons really redefined the expectations of life simulation games forever. People are even asking for Seasons to be included in base games for future life simulation games, and although I was initially against this when I was first starting out with this channel, I've actually come around with my opinion on that, but that's another kind of video that maybe someday I will talk about and share my opinions on. But anyways, The Sims 2 Seasons, when it comes to its impact on future franchises, is obviously getting another 10 out of 10. And I would even say that its impacts are felt in all life simulation games, as it serves as a reference for success. It should really come as no surprise that The Sims 2 Seasons is getting a perfect score across the board. From concept to innovation to gameplay to legacy, this expansion pack really did deliver. It was an expansion pack that Sims players were asking for since The Sims 1, to be honest with you guys. But then when The Sims 2 franchise was underway, this was, along with Pets, the top 2 expansion pack concepts that players were asking for. And honestly, it didn't just meet expectations. In my opinion, it exceeded them. It raised the bar for what expansion packs could be and how they should integrate into the core experience. And if you're building your Sims 2 collection, I don't know how one does that these days, but even just like revisiting the game for nostalgia sake, Seasons should be at the top of your list for an expansion pack to integrate within that experience. It's not just one of the best Sims expansion packs for The Sims 2, it's one of the best expansion packs, period. And even though its concepts, in my opinion, do get evolved and added upon in The Sims 3, you really have to give credit where it's due, and the credit here with the Sims 2 series, with the Sims 2 franchise, and with the Sims 2 Seasons is that it really did set that bar. It set that standard that even future games are having a hard time trying to hit that target on the head. Anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching this review. I know that this one was a little shorter than the ones that I have placed about before, but like I've mentioned before in this tier review, I feel that The Sims 2 Seasons really does speak for itself in terms of the gameplay that it offered, in terms of the concept it delivered on, and it really, like I said, from concept to execution, this Sims 2 Seasons was pretty much perfect, and I couldn't imagine playing the Sims 2 franchise or even enjoying it or looking fondly upon it now that I have moved on to different franchises. I couldn't imagine that experience being as enjoyable as it was without the Sims 2 Seasons being a part of that memory. So yeah, Thank you so much for watching, and if you've enjoyed this review, then don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know what your favorite season is in The Sims 2 seasons and how it changed your gameplay. And up next, I will be reviewing The Sims 2 Bon Voyage, and I've got a lot of good things to say about that one since I feel like it helped to round out the Sims 2 gaming experience before that franchise started experimenting a little bit, and I'll touch upon that when I get to that review. And until then, just want to say thank you again for watching and have yourselves a wonderful day.